Good morning. Welcome to Share Market Mike. Thank you for your time, and today we will try to see what rights issue is. What should a retail investor do when a company announces rights issue or rights share? So in this video, we will try to understand what a rights issue is, why a company is issuing the rights, how a retail investor can approach the rights issue. We will see all these through an example. We will take ARVIND Fashions rights issue last year. We will take that as an example and try to understand all these concepts. And also if there is really a benefit for the retail investors through this rights issue, that's a big question. That's a different topic altogether. It depends on the company. It depends on the demand for the stocks of those companies. A simple logic says whenever a company issues rights, the number of shares is going to increase, which means the supply is going to increase. If there is no enough demand, then the share price may go down. Finally, we will try to see how to apply for this rights issue. Before proceeding any further, if you liked our videos, kindly support us by hitting the like, subscribe and share button. So, what is rights issue? A company in need of some fund, they want to raise fund, so they are trying to raise the fund through the issue of shares called the rights shares. Why are they calling it rights shares? Because it is only for the existing shareholders. They are giving it at a discounted price to the existing shareholders as on a record date. So the company which is planning to come up with a rights issue also comes up with a record date. So as on that record date, whoever is holding the shares of that company are the eligible persons who will receive the rights entitlement to apply for the rights shares at a discounted price. Is there any other benefits because of this rights share? No, the name rights comes because it is only for the existing shareholders. Once the rights issue is completed and the shares are delivered into your demat account, it behaves as a normal share. So I guess it is clear the company wants to raise fund, so they are giving a special privilege to their existing shareholders to apply for more shares at a discounted price. This is the simplest definition for rights issue. Now let's see through an example taking ARVIND Fashion Limited into account. ARVIND Fashion Limited last year they announced 62 rights equity shares for 91 equity shares if you held it as on record date, which means as on record date if the shareholder has 91 equity shares, then he is eligible to apply for 62 rights shares. So does that mean if I don't hold 91 equity shares, I'm not eligible for rights? No, that is not the case. On a pro rata basis, you will have the number of rights that you are eligible to. So they will fix a price. Let's assume the company fixed a price of rupees 100 for the rights share, and the current market price of ARVIND Fashion Limited, let's assume it to be 180. So they are giving it at a discount of 44%. Okay, the rights issues announced by the company after their board meeting. Now, after a company announces the rights issue, what are the options that the retail investor has? The retail investor can apply for the rights share at a discounted price. That is the first option. The second option is to ignore the rights issue totally. And the third option is to sell your rights to someone else who wishes to buy the discounted priced share. So I will once again repeat it. The three options that a individual or a retail investor has is: one, apply for the rights share at a discounted price, which means you still have to pay the price. Second is to ignore the rights issue totally. Third is you can sell your rights entitlement to someone else without even purchasing the share. So remember, the rights share is different, rights entitlement is different. So you have the rights entitlement by default, which is free of cost, and once you decide you don't want the rights share, you can sell this rights entitlement to someone and make additional money. Okay, we will see each of these options in depth. Again, going by the same example, ARVIND Fashion Limited. Let's assume as on record date, we have 91 equity shares of ARVIND Fashion Limited and we purchased it at rupees 200 per share. This is just an assumption. So what is the total investment that we have made into ARVIND Fashion is 91 into 200, which is 18,200. Now let's assume the current market price of ARVIND Fashion is 180. So we are at a loss of rupees 20 per share. So the total loss is 20 into 91, which is 1,820 rupees. Now the company is announcing a rights issue. I am eligible for 62 rights shares at rupees 100 per share. The current market price is 180. They are offering the shares at 100 for the existing shareholders. That is why they have announced the rights. Now I decide to apply for the 62 rights share by paying the 100 per share rupees. So what is the additional investment I do, which is 62 into 100, which is 6,200. So now after the rights issue, I will have a totally of 91 plus 62, which is 153 shares. So the investment amount is 24,400, which is 18,200 my first investment, and then the rights investment of 6,200. So now for one share it comes to around 159.50, and the current market price that we assumed is 180. So now whatever we were in loss, which is 20 rupees earlier, now it has become profitable. But there is a catch here, because as I said earlier, if the rights is beneficial, the share price may increase, but if there is no demand, the share price can go down, because there is an increase in the supply of the shares. So there is no guarantee the share price is going to remain the same. It can go up or it can go down. Going down is the most possible thing happening, because the supply is increasing. Okay, I guess the first option is clear. The second option that the retail investor has is ignoring the rights issue. Again, my humble request is not to ignore the rights issue, because it may eventually lead to direct or indirect losses. We will again see it through an example. The same example, assuming that we have 91 equity shares as on record date, and our investment is one share 200 rupees, which is 18,200. Let's assume the current market price of ARVIND Fashion is 180. So the total loss is same, which is 1,820. Now I am eligible for 62 rights equity share at rupees 100 per share. So what the company will do is they will give me free rights entitlement RE, which is like a coupon. So once I get the coupon, I have that coupon. I use that coupon to apply for rights share at a discounted price. Now what I am doing is I'm completely ignoring the rights issue by doing nothing. So what I do, I don't even sell that rights entitlement. I don't even apply for rights. So if I just leave it like that, which means I'm not going to sell the rights entitlement, nor am I going to apply for the rights share, what will happen is my investments remains the same, which is one share price will be 200 and the current market price is still 180. My loss is still there, and what I said earlier, the chances of the share price going down after the rights is most likely going to happen. Okay, now let's see the third option that we have at our hands, which is sell our rights to someone else who wants it, and he will use that rights to buy the shares at a discounted price. So taking the same example, what we have is we the current market price is 180 for ARVIND Fashion, and the rights share is at rupees 100. So what we can do is we will get the rights entitlement from the company. Rights entitlement is nothing but similar to our shares that gets deposited into our demat account before the rights start date happens. So it will look similar to our shares, but it is not actually a share. What we can do now is we can sell this rights entitlement. So how can we sell the rights entitlement? We can either sell it through the share market, like how we do the shares, or we can do it offline by filling forms. We will see that in depth in the following slides, but we can sell them. So once we sell them, we can make some money, and this process is called as renunciation of rights share, which means you are saying I don't want the rights share, I am renouncing it. So that's what is called renunciation. Once you sell your shares on the share market, it is called on market renunciation, and you do it offline, it is called off market renunciation. Again, so what will happen to our earlier investment? So it is similar. We bought one share at 200, so our earlier investment is 18,200. Current market price is 180, so we are at a loss of 1,820. Now let's assume what would happen if, because I am eligible for 62 rights equity shares, I will get 62 rights entitlement into my demat account free of cost. So what I do is I have to sell it. So there will be a price fixed for that. We can assume that it will not be more than 80 when it starts, because the rights itself is 100, and if the rights entitlement is more than 80, it will become more than 180. The current market price itself is 180, so people can go directly into the market and buy it. So we will assume that the rights entitlement is less than 80. In this case, I'm assuming it to be rupees 30. I'm being a little conservative. So once I assume that it is rupees 30 per rights entitlement that has come into my demat account for free. So what I will do is I can sell those rights entitlement. So what I have after the rights issue is I will have 91 shares only. The rights entitlement that I got for free, I have sold it in the market. So earlier my loss was 1820. Now since I sold it for 30 rupees, the 62 rights entitlement, I make 1860. So now my loss turns into positive. But again, the same catch applies because we are assuming the current market price is going to remain the same. The most possible cases, it may go down because the supply is going up unless and until there is a big demand or a big positive to the, a big positive news to the company or to the market as a whole. Okay, now to recap, the three options for a retail investor when a rights issue is announced is: one, apply for the rights share at a discounted price, which means you have to pay that price, or ignoring the rights issue completely, or selling the rights entitlement that we got for free. So these are the three options available, and my humble request is try to avoid option number 2, which is ignoring the rights issue that may directly or indirectly lead to losses. And now this is how a company would announce the timetable of the rights issue. They will have an issue opening date. They will have an on-market renunciation end date. So all these dates has to be followed diligently. The on-market renunciation is what we just discussed, where we sell our rights entitlement in the share market. There will be a date or a deadline for that by which we have to do it. Then there is an off-market. It is always advisable to do it on-market. Off-market has lots of paperwork. So that will also have a deadline. Then there will be an issue closing date. Then the allotment date, then the credit of these shares into your demat, and then when it is getting listed and when you can trade on that. Okay, now let's come to the part how to apply the rights issue. Most of the companies have the common procedure for applying for rights issue after the rights issue start date happens. So one is through the ASBA. ASBA is nothing but through our net banking. Our banks are providing this feature. So through our net banking, we can do this application of rights issue like similar to how we do for IPO. And some banks do not help us with the online. So what we have to do is we have to personally go to the bank and do the offline ASBA. So there are two ways in ASBA. One is through net banking and the other is offline, personally going to your banks and doing it. Or now they have another feature which is called the R-WAP, which is Registrar's Web Application Portal. Again, this is online where we go to the registrar of that company. Each company will have its own registrar. So we go to that registrar's website. They will have a link to do this rights issue payment. So that is another way that is becoming popular nowadays. I believe it's after COVID that they are encouraging more of this R-WAP facility. Okay, now how to sell our rights. So if I decide that I don't want to apply for the rights share, but I have got free REs, the rights entitlement, or like the coupons. So I want to sell that coupons or rights entitlement. How can I do that? As I said earlier, one way is to use our share market and sell it. It will be similar to how we do for our shares. So they will have an ISIN number. With that, we can sell it in our share market. If you are using Zerodha, the kite where we can sell the shares. The second one is through the off market. This needs a lot of paperwork, form filling. So it's always advisable to use the first method. The second method comes into play where you want to sell your rights entitlement to a specific person. Then the second option is viable. But again, it is a lot of paperwork and we are not sure whether it will happen on time. So the first option is preferable. With this, we have come to the end of the video. If you find the video useful, kindly support us by hitting the like, subscribe and share button. Any questions, kindly post it in the comment section. I will try to answer them. Thank you.